you, Partho and ma'am.
Thank you.
Hello. Thanks. Thank you. So welcome, Maria,
Thank you.
or Dr. M. I've known Maria now for 20 years, and very consistently throughout this period, I've been listening very intensely to Maria, because I personally don't feel there's any other way to listen to Maria but intensely. And since I've known her almost, she's been telling me about all kinds of things related to health, to environment, to food. And a lot of it I internalized. I can share this openly, that my own eating habits have been very deeply influenced by Maria. Today's conversation, as you all know by now, is about unplugging. A very important and a very controversial subject, especially today's day and age. Technology, of course, is all around us. We live in a sea of technological vibrations, frequencies. Most people who do think about this subject and discuss this subject are absolutely convinced that there's nothing that can be done about it. You can't put the clock back. You cannot go back to a pre-technology world. Today's conversation, Maria, I feel assumes a bit more importance because we are on the cusp of artificial intelligence invading our lives in a very major and very fundamental way. And even as we talk, artificial intelligence is on the brink of becoming artificial general intelligence. So technology is therefore, I don't know, it's there with us. We cannot do without it. We cannot think without it. And yet I was going through this book and all the conversations we have had, and the more I read, the more I understand what you're saying. I also begin to feel that we have to do something about technology now, especially radiation and cell phone technology. You were just showing me this machine, which clearly shows us we are literally sitting in a sea of frequencies, which are, I don't think you'll be able to see it. It's showing extreme. We are sitting in a sea of extreme frequencies. So, Maria, how do we address this question?
Very, very deeply and carefully. Thank you, Partho. I have the utmost respect for this man who I met through my dear husband. Thank you for this, the ability to meet with this man of profound intelligence and spiritual. He is. The whole subject at hand here in a book I've written, Be Consciously Healthy, and one of the chapters I had to add it to the original, so it is an updated edition. The subject, the topic, is so profoundly complex. And that's not how it's being treated by the powers that be, the industry at large. The industry at large, that is the telecommunications industry, is treating this as a necessity, a convenience, something we cannot do without, and they have put it to the point of we are completely addicted to the technology. This is a problem. This is a problem that goes beyond this discussion. We only have short time to talk, so I'm going to try to get as much as I can in. But the technology as it stands has not been safety tested. That is, by the powers, by the industry, by the FCC, which is in charge of regulating the amount of electromagnetic frequencies that we should be exposed to. There has been wholly inadequate, I'm talking wholly inadequate safety testing by the industry that promotes and advocates such high frequency generation materials to be blasting into our bodies, every one of us, and our children are the biggest victims or the most vulnerable victims of this technology. We are all victims of this technology. We are users and we are abusers and we are victims. So we know not what we're doing. We're kind of walking blindly, deafly, dumbly, in plain English. And the implications of the technology, the effect on our biological systems is profound. And it's not being recognized, it's not being acknowledged by the industry itself that knows very well what these dangers are.
So one thing that, a very interesting point and a slightly alarming point that struck me while I was reading, that you said that frequencies they actually affect the cell membrane. Can you explain a bit
Correct.
about that? How exactly does it do?
So for anyone who knows any cell physiology, anatomy, physiology, chemistry, and so forth, these many subsets of all of biological systems. These frequencies, which now we're in a 4G, 5G generation, we're in those generations which are working together, they will penetrate our cell membranes. The industry doesn't want us to even go here, all right? But there are those of us who are going here and have gone and know what's going on. The cell membranes, not just the heating of the skin, that is what the industry wants you to believe. Oh, it's just a mild little thermal effect. You know, if your hand feels a little warm, your ear feels a little warm when you're using these cell phones. Nothing to be worried about. That's about it. Nothing penetrates beyond the skin. Well, that is not the case. Things are penetrating into the cell membrane structure, and a cell membrane is a membrane that houses the entire cell unit, which is a tiny, microscopic, not visible to the naked eye. We have trillions of cells in our bodies, and those cell membranes are consisting of many little components. And in discussions of biology and again, physiology, we talk about cell membrane movement across the cell membrane. That's how, things are transported in and out through a membrane, right? So that membrane can defend the cell in many ways. If the membrane is weakened, it cannot. Hence, we have disease that develops because the membrane becomes weakened by forces that you're not even aware of. It could be toxins of any sort. And the toxin that we're talking about today is technology. So that cell membrane is penetrated by these waves, these frequencies, pulsating frequencies. That's what they are. It's not just a gentle, streamlined movement of frequency, which our bodies are frequency existing. Our being is all about frequency. We exist on very low frequencies. The Schumann resonance, which is the Earth's frequency, is 7.8 hertz. The cell phone is giving you about 2 to about 5 billion hertz of frequency. If you can go from
what
a
kind
hertz...
of difference?
Hertz is a cycle per second.
Yeah.
One. So if you're talking about
So you're saying the natural is 7.8 hertz.
7.8 hertz that is given off by the Earth, okay? So the cell phone giving you gigahertz, which is giga is the prefix for billion, penetrating the cell membrane and interfering with the calcium metabolism. The influx of calcium is pushed through the cell membrane and causes a cascade of very disturbing things in the cell. Again, you may not feel it, but over time, this will lead to free radical formation, which are very destructive little things that turn the body upside down. And we talk about antioxidants, which help with those free radicals. And we have our own built-in antioxidants, one of them being the best we have in our body, glutathione. That's not going to rescue us from these free radicals, which are causing a massive amount of destruction that you don't feel at the outset. But you will as you go on. And as long as you keep a cell phone in your pocket and next to your heart or next to your breast or your ear, you will have these cell membranes disrupted again and again and again. And so therefore, we cannot have a state of balance and health, even if we try, if you have this around you at all times. So we have to mitigate it.
Okay, I'm getting the idea of how it's penetrating the cell membrane. So do you think over a period of time it can actually affect the DNA as well?
Yes, absolutely. The science is in. The science has shown that it is affecting our DNA. It is affecting the very core backbone of your being, your genetic material. So once the genetic material is affected, where do you go from there? You have mutated genetic material, and what comes from mutated genetic material? The dreaded cancer.
So,
And, yes.
yeah, I mean, okay, one way, if I look at the negative side of it, yeah, the cancer. But over generations, we have seen how changes in Earth's environment and in climate systems have actually led over a period of time to genetic mutations.
Yes.
So what maybe cancer is a precursor to kind of a genetic mutation we are headed for because of, I mean, I can't think of a time when we can, wind the clock back as far as technology goes. So what do you think of that? Are we heading towards a genetic mutation of sorts?
Partho,
Yeah.
we are headed, yes, we are headed, and we have genetic mutations going on at all times. Now, the body will do everything it can to repair genetic mutations because your genes are disrupted on a regular basis. And we usually have reparative mechanisms that put it all in check. You know, we're always surrounded by something that the body's going to be having to deal with. So it's our food, our water, the various other chemicals and so on and so forth. So I don't want to paint a terribly dreadful picture here, but I want people to understand that there is an industry that has gone way beyond where it should. We have not the proper safety testing from our industries. Our regulatory agencies have not done their diligence as far as biological effects. And by biological, I mean everything, humans down to the amoeba. And we have the information, we have the science, it's there, but it's been done outside of the industry, but not enough publicity about it, not enough talk about it, because this is an industry, quite frankly, that would die. The WHO in 2011 declared that cell phone technology is a class 2B carcinogen. What does that mean? Does anybody know what that means? It's a possible carcinogen. Once that possible turns into probable, that's done. The industry is done. Possible leaves it at that level where, you may have some cancers forming, but not enough information has been generated, not by the industry, but by others it has.
So I recall a case in India. It was taken to the Supreme Court of India by a friend, Chirag, Prakash Munshi. He's a frontline activist and has been fighting several battles and legal battles on this front. And he took the case to the Supreme Court. And what they had to say finally was there is no evidence. There isn't enough evidence to admit of such an eventuality because they're talking about an impending catastrophe. So they said there's no evidence. So what about that? And I remember during the pandemic, there was this thing about 5G and its in what ways 5G was affecting the viral attack. So how do we gather enough evidence for the general population to sit up and take note? Unless that happens, I don't think the companies or the governments are going to do much.
This is going to be have to be like everything else that is so profoundly ignored, if you will, or dismissed. Dismissal.
Or underplayed.
Yeah. The dismissal of the implications, the impact, the global impact. This is not to be allowed by us. We need to all rise up and either speak, represent, communities. We need to talk to these politicians. We need to talk to these industries and say, we're paying attention. We see what you're trying to hide. We need to be speaking up in any way we can. That's the way to go. I mean, monies have to be put into this. It's costing very large sums of money to study these things. And all that money that would be involved in studying is not something that the cellular industry, the telecom, and all that wants to give up. So it's got to be that we speak up and that we boycott, if necessary. We need instruction on this. You know, I'm one of the few people who speaks up about this, by the way, around here. If you know of anybody else who's talking about it, please let me know because I want to hook up with them. And, you know, again, that dearth of some leadership in this whole arena, it's a problem. People are calling me now, how can I help? I said, you can show up and we can have meetings. I ask people, I ask of you, you know, share this with others. We need help. We need help in bringing this out. This gentleman in India, he knows the dangers. The industry is saying things like, there's not enough evidence, or the science, there's not enough science. Oh yes, there is. There's already evidence. We have it. And I point out the big reference. One of my best references for this is Environmental Health Trust. Environmentalhealthtrust.org, founded by Deborah Davis, who is a public health official. She is someone who has been around a while. She was very instrumental in having cigarette smoking banned in airlines, in the airports. And she's seeing the same thing happen now with artificial technology. She's seeing the same thing happen. It's being ignored. It's being kind of, they're putting a kibosh on all of this evidence that's coming out that's showing the dangers of smoking. It used to be doctors would smoke and then you would smoke on the airlines and whatever, forget about the hazards. But at least it was stopped there. I mean, and there are a lot of efforts still being made, but cigarettes are still alive and still killing us. Technology will still be around. It's going to continue. It's going to continue like it or not. But we need to know how to protect ourselves. And if we can slow down the process, stop so many cell phones from being, cell towers from being installed. You know, the prediction is that they want, or the plan is that they wanted to put 800,000 antenna up in the next few years. And then that will go even higher. I mean, these small cell antenna that will be closer to our homes, our schools. The children will be literally microwaved. We will be microwaved because that's the technology, by the way.
Already moving from 5G to 6G now.
Yeah, it is too fast. It is too much at once. I mean, I have seen many examples of the effect. There are documented cases of these people with the effect having been exposed in their apartments, in their complexes. You know, people coming down with illnesses, headaches, migraines, fatigue, insomnia. I mean, the list goes on. The reproductive effects. In advanced technological countries, it is now, at this point, been shown that there's more than 50% drop in sperm count in males and continuing onward. So some, like Martin Paul, Professor Emeritus from Washington State, who is very much studying this and trying to warn us about it, he said, if it continues at this rate, we're talking about extinction of the human race. And those are his words.
Sounds threatening.
Sounds pretty
Yes,
dramatic and threatening.
And especially when I think of India, it's the fastest, the cell phone penetration in India is the highest in the world. And there's not much being done in India. What is being done in the US in real terms? So see, one thing we're at least someone like you is talking about it, writing about it. But I do know for sure that not too many of us take that very seriously, because the thing that we think that is just not practical. The world shuts down. If we start shutting down Wi-Fi, for instance, the world shuts down tomorrow. And so, I would like to know what is being done already in a country like US with high technology, and B, what should be done in the coming year, or a couple of years.
What is being done is that there are different groups that are coming together, scientists, engineers, leaders of cities and states that are speaking up, coming together. They're putting this information together. They're trying to get that information out to their communities, putting stuff out on the social media, internet, whatever, in hopefully safer ways. Wired technology, by the way, is safer, or the safest technology. Your phones at home, if you happen to still have a landline, that is your safest means of communication. The old flip phones would be, again, safer than what most of us are using now. So these are different in pockets of the U.S. Only certain places, like in Connecticut, in eastern Connecticut, there's been a movement. New Hampshire, there's been some activity. Massachusetts, there's been some activity. And I'm saying a very small minority of this country, just a few states, a handful of states, are doing something, are starting to really move this, this needle, because it's going, it's really going to be harder as we go along. So there are very few states, if you will, that are actively doing something. We in Florida, again, there are only so many people who are knowing about this, and I would love to have more connections and communicate more about this with others who may be on the same page with me, but I do have to take care of other things. I am a busy person, but I would definitely participate in the movement to educate and to have people use technology in a safer way. I do give out materials. When people come and see me, I talk about it. It's always going to come up. Any first-timers to me, I will talk about their technology, because many people have symptoms that are relevant and or probably associated with their cell phones. I hear it. I hear those who have been living in smart homes, so-called smart homes, which I think are pretty dumb. And this is not. And I've seen it. They come in. There's young people, young 30s, 40s, coming in with lethargy. They just don't have energy. And these are people who are trying to take care of themselves, and they have no energy left. Or they kind of peter out after they try to jog, run, or do their gym workouts. And I find, upon inquiry, that they have smart homes that they live in. Everything is connected to or disconnected from plugs for the most part, but everything is Wi-Fi.
Even people exercising, jogging, they're all wired up these days. And I see that you've discouraged the habit of wiring yourself up when you're jogging or walking and measuring your steps.
Yes, so I just, in answer to your question, what do we think about, what can we do?
What we need to do.
What we need to do, yes, we need to, one, recognize that there's a problem. First, acknowledgement. If we don't have a problem, then we don't do anything. We're not interested, this is not a problem. If our media, our mainstream media, are not saying a word about it, if you're not seeing it in the local newspapers, if you're not seeing it written or spoken of, or it's not on social media, but more and more is, you'll have to go to alternative media, that is not mainstream. And if it's not a problem, then nobody's touching it. We just keep going, right? So we have to recognize it, and we have to teach our children about this. And do not give your kids cell phones. I mean, they don't belong in their hands. We've got babies who are being monitored with wireless technology, and the frequencies are going right through their little bodies. The frequencies that we're being exposed to goes through a child's body 153% greater than an adult.
Adults.
These are numbers that are staggering, stunning. I cannot really express enough here. I mean, it's something I'm passionate about. I don't want to see people hurt. I myself have to, shut the phone, put it in airplane mode. My husband has learned how to do that more and more. And fortunately, and the kids too, our children are all, everybody's on that thing because that's what they're growing up with. They're growing up in a cellular world. Many of us have not grown up in it. Now we're all being forcibly, backed up into a corner, exposed to it, and, how do we get out of it? We don't get out of it, but we can. I mean, you can totally come off the grid and say, the heck with this, and live in the forest and totally be disconnected. That you can do. So that's one thing you can do. You can totally.
So acknowledgement, you've said. First, acknowledge that there is a problem, and then education, information and education.
Absolutely. We have to, and again, whatever information I can give out, again, there's a chapter in this book. If you want to obtain this book and then have others know about it, at least it'll give you a feel for what is going on and some other important information about historically where it really started. This started back in the 18th century, and I'll give you one little interesting piece. When Sigmund Freud was around, anybody remember that name? Yeah. Well, he came up with something called anxiety neurosis.
Yeah.
He kind of coined or, set it off, and we have this label, a label, just yet another label. Yeah. And that's become a very popular label. I mean, almost, everybody talks about, I have anxiety, my cousin has anxiety, my mother has anxiety. Anxiety is in a category we call neurosis. Neurosis is like the head category, and it's a subcategory of neurosis. So Sigmund Freud, at the time that he was diagnosing this, it was the same time that we were becoming electrified. So we were having electricity being introduced into all kinds of places, and it was even almost, fashionable to have yourself electrically shocked by little devices back in the 1700s. They would have parties. The women would be titillated by being electrocuted when it was all started. And the German man Muschenhoek, he was kind of like the one who founded all these little instruments. He made instruments where he can electrocute you, really. So electricity was being developed back in the 1800s, the 18th century. And it started there, that we were going to become electrified. And from there, it just kept going and
So
going.
let me get this right. Are you saying that the anxiety phenomenon that Freud was studying was related to electricity,
Yes.
which was becoming more popular?
That is what is likely to have started it all. But it, again, we have anxiety now. Now, it is a huge diagnosis. It is a very common diagnosis, right?
Yes.
Anxiety,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
If you
Globally.
put two and two together, you start looking at anxiety and technology. There's something there, right? So if you have anxiety about something else, so it's generated by something else. I'm not saying that everything is about electricity and electromagnetic energies, but if you have something underlying, it only makes it worse.
So again, as I said at the beginning, I mean, it's interesting that we are talking about this right now because now is the time that we are globally moving through another anxiety with artificial intelligence, and everyone is anxious now. What's going to happen? So
it's a scary concept,
yeah.
and I really I'm a little concerned, to say the least. No, I'm very concerned, and if we don't feel it, if you don't feel it, or you're not making the connection, even if you are feeling it, again, like I said, headaches, insomnia, skin crawling, burning of the hand. If you hold your cell phone long enough, your hand might burn, your arm might tingle, your heart might start to become dysrhythmic, your brain might start to feel fuzzy, your eyes, your vision will be affected.
So
It's good.
we have 5 minutes more, and this subject being not just important, but I think this is one subject that touches each one of us sitting here. Everyone here has a cell phone. We are all connected with the Wi-Fi, and I personally can't think of an existence without Wi-Fi, for instance. So this impacts each one of us here. So I would like to open this up for a few questions. Anyone who would want to know something specific from Maria, please.
Thank you. What I'm astonished by is that we're still having this discussion. This was known by the Army in the mid-'60s, and each generation, and I've seen a few, kind of goes through this. So what I'm wondering specifically is when you talk to somebody, what approaches work? How can you encourage someone to wake up and see the price of the technology they're using? Because I don't know how to talk to people any longer, and clearly the fact that we're all here and that this is novel info means that we're not educating very well. So what's actually effective in your experience?
When I see people come like this, either in a group or one-on-one, I discuss it. There might be 2, 3 people with me. I discuss it, and I ask, and I hand them information. I say, here is a card, here is a piece of paper. I want you to see the references here. Like I have a card that has references on it, like Trust, for instance, Environmental Health Trust. I tell them, please, it's a one-stop shop. Go onto your wired computer and look it up. And look at the science, look at the case reports, look at the data and all that has been accumulated from the investigations of this whole technology, this whole industry. There's so much there. So I tell them about Trust, and I tell them, to see if they can, really start moving the information around to the family and schools. Parents should come on to school boards. They have the parent-teacher school boards and so forth. They should be talking. You can print out the scientific references from Trust. They have a whole list of references, which are by tremendous scientists who put their time and energy into it. One of them happens to be by the name of Om Gandhi. That's one of the scientists who has studied this catastrophic stuff. And yeah, you have to tell them that there's science out there and follow the science. You have to look at what has been really investigated, and they have to look at it from both sides. What are the advantages, what are the disadvantages? But people should, really be given this information. You have to start saying there is a place, and I start with Trust. And I had listened in on a summit in 2017. It was the 5G summit, and they have a whole transcript of that. I mean, if you want to order that too, that's amazing. I have a copy of that, but I listened in on it, and amazing information. It was like several days of summit, and they really brought out data that I was like floored by. So we need to, get that out. I would like people to come and join me here, or at least offer to help, maybe lead something here. I would definitely put my time into it.
Do we have time for another question? Does anyone have a question?
One more question.
Any more questions?
Thank you. So, Dr. M, other than the measures you recommend in your book, like not wearing the cell phone on your body and things like that,
Yes.
are there any other measures we can take? Like one of the things that I try to do diligence when I'm buying a phone is look for the lowest SAR values, for example. So could you give us some other examples? And also, are there any like health supplements or other measures we can take to counteract, I know you cannot fully counteract it, but to whatever extent possible?
Yeah, the specific absorption rate is what this gentleman is talking about, the SAR level, and this is a very important concept, and it's what can be absorbed or what should be allowable in this country. These absorption rates should be low, and every country should have a low threshold for this kind of stuff. So yeah, you would have to use probably the lowest generation phone, if you can get it. If you can get your hands on something like 2G, 3G. 3G would be taking a step back. Flip phones would be best. And again, they're not easily accessible. You're not going to get them by most of these carriers. You're going to have to get them on your own. So you'll have to, be very careful with your phone selection. Do not get anything that's got the highest value, SAR, and so on. But you have to start taking the phone off the body. That's the first and foremost. The phone should not be on your person. They give you this like 5/8 of an inch on I think it's a BlackBerry, or on the iPhone it's 0.98 inch away from the body. They say, oh, you should have it at least that distance away, which is almost an inch. But even at that, there is damage, because when you open the phone for a phone call, that is the highest pulsation you're going to get. That's why you should have it nowhere near your head. You will get an instant pulsation right through the brain. Again, all the cells being affected. So the phone has to be carefully selected. You need to keep it off of your person. Absolutely keep it off the person. Keep it in some little bag or a little tote that you can carry. Men are going to have to, or should, learn how to carry little totes around. I'm sure it will bother your egos and everything else. Sleeping at night, you shouldn't even have it in the room. It should not be in your room unless it is completely powered off. In that case, if you need to grab it, okay, it should be powered off. You should have a landline, as far as I'm concerned. And if you need it for an alarm, I don't want to hear these excuses. Anybody who tells me I need it for my alarm, I tell them, listen, do you have a brain in your head? Have you ever purchased an alarm clock with a battery? Is that really like out of, is it way out of line? Yeah. Airplane mode, yes, will cut the signal really down quite a bit. It's not turning everything off entirely, but yes. Other things to do not turn on your phone in your car. Believe it or not, everybody's doing it. Everybody's in there, and you're watching them as I'm looking, the car next to me, and I'm waiting at a light. Everybody's on their phone. You're in a Faraday cage. You're inside of a cage. You're getting bombarded. And the penetrability of the waves through all of these steel and glass, it is increased. They have to get to you. You got to get to you. That signal has to get to you. So it has to pass through, so it intensifies to get to you. So if you're in an elevator, in a car, in a bus, in a box, in the bathroom, guess what? You are you're feeling the effects of that radiation. Of course, your children, babies, it should be nowhere near. They have technology, they have a 5G bouncer, which makes me sick when I know of this. Again, this technology has not been safety tested. If you are putting your child in a 5G bouncer, come and see me. That's a problem. And so there are many things, and I have here, I have this little handout, it's called Sweet Dreams, and I have many suggestions for you, including biological builders, including wearing something, either these attached to your regular glasses, your specs. If you wear specs regularly or you need them constantly, put a blue blocker on in the evening hours, because we need blue light from our natural sun. We need it to build our melatonin so that we can sleep. If you're going to be exposed to artificial light through and through all day long, you hardly go outside, you're going to have trouble sleeping without question. That's just part of it. But a good idea, invest in a pair of these little blue blocker flip-ups, or they actually have blue blockers, about $25. Nobody's supposed to know about that, though. You'll never find it in your AT&T store. And people are actually able to get the blue blocking in their own prescription glasses. You can actually ask for that. They do put it in, just make sure it's there. But the thing is, you shouldn't wear blue blockers outside. If you're outside, you really want to get that sunlight into your eyes. It needs to come in, and to build the melatonin and serotonin and all that other nice stuff.
Thank you so very much, Maria. And I hope all of us here, go away with some more sense.
Don't
Thank
be a
you so
fool.
much, Maria.
Don't
Thank
be
you
a
so
fool
much.
for the tool. Use it as a tool.
That's a good takeaway. Don't be a fool with the tool.
Use it very carefully, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Maria and Partho, for this
you.
very thought-provoking session, especially in the times when we're living with wearables and injectables now. So this is a great talk and very thought-provoking. Thanks a lot. So Dr. Maria and Dr. Partho will also be signing books at the bookstore. Their books are also available. So please grab your copy, and you can also probably grab them and have a discussion if you want to have some talk. They'll be available throughout the venue. Thank you. Thanks a lot. A small token now for appreciation for you.